what I dislike about Seattle is it's in the far corners of the northwestern part of the United States. So it's not the easiest place to get to and travel to unless you have a predetermined plan to come here. So it's not like it's in the middle of the country where you're just happen to be passing by and coming through like a lot of other great cities are in the country. So that's one of the the hardships and difficulties I guess about living here is that people don't come to see you just because. They definitely make a big plan about making their efforts to come out this way to the great Northwest.
This is not very, very big city. I'm a city person and I want to live in a big city. But this is this downside, but it's not a big deal.
I like the green, but I'm very much a warm weather fan. So at some point, moving somewhere else is not off my option list, but I kind of want to be able to move somewhere else with someone. So I'm still here.
One thing is just, the weather's kind of sucks sometimes. We get more rain than a lot of other states, but I guess that'd be one thing. I guess if there's more sun, that'd be nice. Warmer weather.
The gray. I wish we had a longer summer season. I really, really do. I like to be outside. I like to be barefoot, and that's what I dislike about the cold weather, wet weather.
I would say career for my partner would be pretty important to me because I don't want to worry about our financial problem. That would give me a lot of pressures, and I don't think that would give any good to the relationship either.
I think career should play a role. At least for me, it does. I want somebody that's going to have aspirations, want to better themselves. Being a stay-at-home mom is great, but what are you going to do when those kids get into school? You're not going to just stay at home and do nothing all day.
I couldn't date a deadbeat or a loser or an unemployed guy. There would have to be a serious reason for it. And that seems kind of harsh, but I feel like I get into playing a mother role with people. I have well before I had children, and I'm tired of being a mom. I'm tired of taking care of people. That's not my job. I have 2 kids to take care of, and that's it. And myself.
What type of career they have or what direction they're going with their career doesn't have too much of an effect as long as they're actively trying to either better themselves in some manner. So whether they're going to grad school or they're just always learning something new, always reading something new, to try to educate themselves, that's probably the important part.
I hope to meet somebody who's career oriented, who's really passionate about something, He's got to be as passionate about his career as I am passionate about being a mom.
She doesn't have to be a high-powered, career-driven oriented person because I really believe in the balance of the two. If we're going to form a meaningful relationship, especially centered on family, there needs to be that balance. And I don't know if both of us can be high-driving, career-oriented people and make that work for the quality of life and quality of family that we're looking for. And so it's nice to be able to have somebody who can have maybe a little more family-oriented, activities around the kids and around the neighborhood and around the community, and not be so worried about chasing the almighty dollar out there.
My name is Shalom. I'm 31 and I am currently single. I do not have any kids. I do want some, 3 preferably, 2 preferably. Let's go with 2. A girl first, then a boy. And I am very family oriented. I started a fashion network when I came back from Europe 2 years ago. because I wanted to know what the local fashion scene was about, and no one was covering it. So I started a little blog that turned into a site that has turned into a company. So it's a lot of fun, but it definitely is a lot of work. One of my favorite things about living in Seattle is the natural beauty. It really is just quite gorgeous here. It's green, it's fun, everyone complains about the weather, but it really doesn't bother me. I love that we have 4 seasons. I love that I can go outside, and regardless if it's, depending on whatever season it is, it's always beautiful, and that's what I like. One of the things I have to say I complain about, or am not one of my favorite things about living in Seattle, are the people. And I don't want this to be construed the wrong way, but people here tend to be very warm and nice, but they're not welcoming. So I've heard, and I've experienced this myself, that it's really hard to meet friends here, to build those lasting relationships, because people are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Cliquey. Yeah, that's one thing I definitely would change about Seattle. Physically, I would say my eyes and my smile are the things I get the most compliments on. Personality-wise, I do know I'm intelligent, but guys tend to not like that. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm ambitious. I'm extremely independent, which I guess is not a good thing either. Wow, okay, I can think of something. I promise I can. I'm nice. Actually, I'm really nice. I'm extremely giving in a relationship, and I think that is why men find me attractive. So I've always been a very thoughtful and giving person, mostly because I expect it from other people, and I'm a firm believer that if you expect someone to do something, you really need to do it yourself. So birthday gifts and Christmas gifts takes me months to figure out, and I try to make sure it always matches the person's personality. And I've noticed that I do that in relationships, even when it's little things like cooking dinner and washing clothes and folding clothes. Even when I don't live with the person, I just really try to be the perfect girlfriend, and not in the Stepford kind of way, but just in a partnership kind of way. I always imagine that relationships are partnerships, and I would really want someone to come in and make me a better person. So I try to do the same for the other person, and push them when they need to be pushed, but also compliment them when they need to be complimented. I am definitely afraid of being alone and not finding the right mate. I like to think that I don't need a man, but I've always wanted one, so it's kind of a little bit of a burden. I'm at that point where I'm trying to figure out, is my want for a man a need for a man, or is it just a desire that maybe God never intended for me to fulfill? So yeah, I definitely wonder about it. Well, I have a lot of friends that really don't have that burning desire that I feel like I have to find a mate. They're okay with being single. It's not anything that they worry about or seem to be concerned about or even looking for. They don't want kids. They don't necessarily want to get married, and even if they're in a relationship, they don't understand what that desire is. The whole white dress, and they just are very different and don't get it, which is great. I admire that. I've always wanted to be one of those women, but I'm not. I've been planning my wedding since I was 12. I have a dress picked out right now. If someone were proposed today, I could have a wedding up and running in 48 hours, which is crazy. But yeah. If I can change one thing about myself, I would definitely, initially, I'm extremely shy. I don't know how to flirt, never learned. I didn't date in high school. I barely dated in college. So I never really went through the same things that most girls do when they figure out how to court and how to act in the beginning of a relationship or how to attract a mate. I tend to, if I like someone, can't look at them and avoid them, and that doesn't really work out when you're single and looking. So that's really hard for me to get past that and maybe approach someone, or even, I don't even know how to send the signals that I'm available. And I know that there are girls that know how to do that. I've never really learned that process. I feel like I tend to go for the overachiever, which can be good, but I think they tend to overachieve me and replace me with a better model, which is not good. But no, I definitely like sort of what I think every girl likes, the dream man, the confident guy that walks into a room and all the girls, swoon. That's the guy that I tend to date, oddly enough. Living alone is kind of a double-edged sword. For me, I like living alone. I like saying that I live by myself. I like owning my own place because it's part of my identity, honestly. I bought my place when I was 22, which is fairly young, and that's kind of the way that I identify myself, as someone that has gotten her life together and lives alone and is independent. And so that is the woman that I am. So that is me living alone. I'm okay with. I've always been okay with that. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I don't live with my parents, that I don't have to have a man pay my rent. On the other side, it is definitely lonely. There are days, especially, I don't even have a TV, so there's days where, you come in and there's no background noise. It's just you. You're fully aware of how alone you are. And that's hard. I spend a lot of time in my mom's house just for the people around, for that sort of warmth that comes with other people being in the house, even if they're not in the same room. So there definitely is a little bit of that going on, that it's just hard being lonely. I think now we also have a society that doesn't try to make it work. Divorce is so easy and an alternative way out. So people, once they get to a certain age, they look at their partner and say, I'm different, you're different, let's go our different ways. And it's not the same as it was 50 years ago, where it was required more so to stay in marriage, not legally, but required by social standards. Now it's not. Divorce is extremely accessible and not looked down upon. So religion does play a role in my dating life. It hasn't before, and as a matter of fact, until sort of at this moment now, religion has never played a role. I've always been a Christian, but I've never been a hardcore sort of practicing Christian. I've always prayed, but never gone to church. So I've always sort of been very lenient with my faith, and I have never dated a Christian. So it never really honestly occurred to me to seek that out. I figured if it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. But as I get older and as I really want to have kids, and my life tends to be a little more faith-centric, I really want someone that can support me in that and push me in that and become my partner in that. And so, yeah, I tend to look for another Christian mate. There's a saying that women fall in love through their ears and men fall in love through their eyes. But yet the standards for what a ideal woman is supposed to be is so far out of the realm of realistic possibility that I just think it's ridiculous. Like, you want me to be Heidi Klum when you're Meatloaf? Like, really? Let's be real. Come on, let's level this playing field. Part of my job is producing fashion shows, and typically when you're surrounded by beautiful people, I try not to think that it affects the men I meet, because models tend to be a certain age group. They're usually younger than 23, and I'm 31 and don't really like younger guys, so it's not really an issue there. But it definitely does have an effect on my self-esteem. Being surrounded by gorgeous, tall, thin women, it does tend to have a tendency to make me feel less than, and it definitely is an interesting position to be, because there's beautiful people everywhere in the world, and it's different when you have a room full of nothing but beautiful people, that you tend to be acutely aware of where you stand in the world. That definitely has an effect on my self-esteem, and where and how I would approach or assume men are approaching me. So naturally, at a fashion show or anything fashion related, I always assume that guys are not approaching me in a romantic sense, but more in a business or authoritative sense because I am producing the show. I think my worst date, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not as bad as what I've heard, but was with an internet date. I had never met him. I saw the pictures and he looked cute. And when I got there, he did not look anything like his pictures. And it was clear that they were potentially of someone else or just did not look the same. And so as soon as I saw him, I knew that I had made a mistake. And it was too late because I had described what I was wearing and what I looked like. And I immediately tried to figure out a way to get out of it. And it was, of course, too late. First, we exchanged this extremely awkward hug and we went to go purchase our tickets, and because I knew I wasn't interested in him, I immediately tried to not send any mixed signals, so I paid for my own ticket, and he tried to get really touchy-feely, and I think that's awkward when you know someone. It's even more awkward when you don't know anyone or know the person, so I was trying to wriggle out of his advances. And then he starts talking about his tattoo, or whether or not we have tattoos, and I ask him if he has any, and he says he does have one on his ankle, which, not to be a stereotypical girl, but is a really odd placement for a guy. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's weird, but whatever. So he lifted up his pant leg and showed me this tattoo of an animated mouse, which I thought was interesting, to say the least. And finally, when I asked him why he decided to get a tattoo of that, it's something so permanent. And he said it reminded him of his childhood, and it was something that he really enjoyed growing up, and it made him happy. And so we're sitting there, and there's some kids in front of us, maybe 15, 16-year-olds, and they're talking. And, I mean, we're early. Like, the lights have not dimmed. They haven't even started playing the commercials before the commercials. So we're just sitting there sort of chatting, and at one point he, yells at the kids in front of us for talking, and I was like, that was weird. Later on, the kids were still kind of chatting, but not loudly and weren't interrupting anyone. But then he stood up and told them to be quiet, again, in the middle of the movie, and everyone turned around and looked at us, and it was completely embarrassing. And at that point, the date was definitely over, and there was no chance of a second date. We went to dinner afterwards, and it was kind of just sort of this mishmash of random conversation, and like the yelling at the kids, it'd always be like these random comments where I wouldn't know what to say or how to respond. And at the end of the date, he asked me to drive him back to his car, which I was like, oh no, he's gonna know what kind of car I drive, and he's gonna get into the car, and something's gonna happen. And of course I do it because I'm really nice and have a hard time saying no, so I drive him to his car, and and he gets out and he like tries to do the like random hug, kiss, lean over the console thing. And I was like, okay, bye. So it was just a really odd date. I don't even know how to describe it. It was just random and odd. I do not even remember his name, but yes, that was probably my worst date. I have always wanted to take a cooking class, and I've never done it. And it's just one of those things that when you take cooking classes alone, you're acutely aware of how alone you are. So that would be a fun first date, is taking cooking classes, because you can share that with someone else. It's a great time that you have something to do, you have something to talk about if you don't have anything to talk about any other way, but it also starts conversations if you do, and so you can chop and talk. And so cooking classes would probably be something that I've always wanted to do, never have done, and would love to do on a first date. Seattle cooking instructor Megan Hastings gave us some great instructions on how to make zucchini bread gnocchi. First, we cut up some zucchini. My date helped me out. We weren't the only couple there to learn that day. The others had fun also. Young love, they were a cute couple. We took some French bread and cut the bread into small pieces and put it into a large bowl to soak in milk. We added lots of other ingredients like eggs, zucchini, Parmesan cheese, rosemary, some salt, and flour. My date and I enjoyed mixing the ingredients together. Megan told us we wanted the gnocchi to have a good consistency, so we added some flour. Then we rolled the mixture into dumplings. After that, we cut the dumplings into half-inch pieces, rolling each one to form the perfectly shaped zucchini bread gnocchi. Then we took each individual piece and used a fork to create a groove to catch the sauce. I had a lot of fun with my date. We had some jokes to tell while we were creating it, and it felt great to know he was there to help. A nice learning experience for both of us. Now we had some sauté work to do. We used an onion, fine chopped garlic, and olive oil. Cook Megan told us we should put together a nice salad to go with the main dish. I started off by peeling and chopping cucumbers. Later, we would add chickpea, red onion, and avocado in an olive oil and use fresh lemon dressing. Back to the zucchini bread gnocchi again. It was time to add some eggplant to the saucepan. And as it turned out, my date was great at chopping parsley. While he was doing that, Megan and I added tomatoes and red wine with oregano and salt. Then we let it cook a few minutes to soften the vegetables. Megan showed us how to use an immersion blender to puree the ingredients. Finally, we added in Clamato olives with the parsley. Next, my date and I took the gnocchi dumplings and submerged them in boiling water until they would float. Then we removed them and sauteed them for a few minutes in olive oil and then added them to the sauce. To finish the salad, we added the cucumber, then chickpea, red onion, and avocado, and used an olive oil and fresh lemon dressing. Making a professional meal with my date was a lot of fun and romantic too. He was great to be around, and we all enjoyed the wonderful meal together. I mean, as you get older, you realize there's gonna be a day you wake up next to the person, man, that you vowed you were gonna love and you were sure you could never get enough of. You're gonna wake up to him one day and realize, I can't stand you. I mean, it's just a fact. People are gonna get on your nerves at some point, or you're gonna feel like you wanted to do something else, or see someone else naked, or whatever it is that people go through that usually leads to divorce. Love is you acknowledging that feeling and choosing that person the next day. That's love.
Does race matter? Absolutely not. Not for me, at least.
Myself, I don't come from anywhere particular. I'm an American. I would say my biggest pet peeve is why don't we have American as a race? French people are French, British people are British, Germans are Germans, but Americans are Asian American, Black American. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
It's just whoever I find that is capable with me and has to be attractive in my eyes, at least when I first meet them or something. But it's kind of hard because my family's family oriented, so they want me to find a Vietnamese girl, but just I tell them, whatever happens. I just can't go looking for just a Vietnamese girl. So
he can be from anywhere, but I kind of want to have somebody who just exudes the essence of who I am, like fits me. And so whatever that is or whatever that looks like, I think I'll know when I know.
I'm actually attracted to, probably a multitude of races, but it mattered to my father, which I would not date someone because of him, but it would be a slow introduction. But race doesn't matter. It depends on who the individual is, and if if I'm attracted to them, absolutely go for it.
I would say race not necessarily matter to me as long as they look okay to me. I only encounter Asians and Caucasians, so I'm not really involved into other races, so I don't really know them. But the perfect race would be mixed with Asians and Caucasian.
For me, race doesn't matter that much. It does matter some. If I want somebody who's going to really identify with a lot of my core traditions and values and the neighborhoods and communities I grew up with, race matters in that regard. An African American woman for me then would be the ideal partner because she can intuitively relate to my family dynamics that I come from, my neighborhoods that I grew up with, the challenges of life, everyday life, living in America, being a person of color. Those are some unique aspects that people of color have to deal with. And I think in that regard, race does matter. But when you look at the overall big picture of things and you're looking for a lifelong partner or someone you can truly love and truly devote yourself to, race doesn't matter because then it's more of a matter of the heart. It's a matter of, okay, we're two people from different backgrounds and we choose to be together. We choose to really build the best lives and the best relationship that we possibly can. And actually we have the best of both worlds. And I find that's one of the great things about sometimes when you date or marry outside of your race is you bring together the best of both worlds.
My name is Randy. I am 38 years old and I am single. So I don't really have, I think, as much delineation to work life, leisure life as a lot of people do just because of the nature of my hobby as my career. And that's like really, really cool to me. There are not very many musicians who are able to actually live on what they do. And so I feel very fortunate in that way that I've worked myself into a position where I can actually do this as a living and I'm not, working for the man. What I do for a living, teaching guitar, I don't get up particularly early. I'm not sleeping until noon or anything, but I'm usually up, around 9 o'clock or so, and I get up and I'm probably having cold pizza for breakfast and a glass of water. And then might have a student coming in anywhere from 11 to noon for my first student. And they kind of trickle in through the morning, so I'll be playing some guitar maybe a couple times a week. I'm playing with one or other of my bands in practice or a live scenario or some kind of a recording session or something. And family oriented in the sense of being close to my family, not family oriented in the sense of wanting to create a new one. With a daughter at age 20, not a chance I would be interested in having more children. Favorite thing about living in Seattle, there's such a variety of geography. You've got the islands, you got the desert, you got the mountains, you got cities, you got small towns, you got rural areas. Just a bit of everything to do in Seattle. I don't really dislike anything about living here. I've lived here pretty much my whole life. Went away for a little while in the military and came back. So I got no complaints. Some people whine about the rain, but they're wrong. So a good thing about living, without a partner is, I just don't have anyone to answer to, particularly now that, my daughter's grown and a lot of her growing up was done with her mother anyway. So I kind of had some of this, but I can do my own thing and I can play guitar for, 3 or 4 hours a day, which probably isn't going to happen with most married musicians, which is why most married musicians don't ever get anywhere. Just about every day I'm doing some sort of exercise. I do a lot of rope jumping for exercise. Sometimes I'll do some jogging or, push-ups, sit-ups kind of stuff. Just, trying to keep myself pretty well in shape. Occasionally we'll do some artistic stuff. I do some drawing, a lot of graphite type work. I've been known to draw some lighthouses and I haven't done a lot in recent years. In the past, I've done a lot of human artwork, a lot of naked women that I like to draw. I've got models over for that occasionally. If I were to meet someone fantastic, I would rather be happily involved than happily single, but I would much rather be single than to be involved unhappily. So a guitar is like a girlfriend or a lover. It's like any female who has ever sang a song to you or said a nice word to you. It's a thing of beauty, and it is there for you in your darkest hours, and it's there for you in your happiest times. I think that if a woman were attracted to me, she would probably be attracted to my confidence. I tend to be a confident person, largely due to a lot of stage experience, and I'm not afraid to get out there. I'm not a shy guy at all. Sometimes people see me as shy because I don't get out a lot, but I'm not afraid to talk to people and get out and do things. And I am known as a fairly strong communicator, so I can typically get on the right side of a person if that's what I wish to do. I've always ended up with extremely intelligent women, and where I don't think that being intelligent makes a person dishonest, I have had some experiences with dishonest women, and when a person is extremely attractive and dishonest, they're probably going to be very good at their dishonesty. So if I were going to change something about what I was going to attract, I would really like to continue to attract very intelligent women, but I would probably go after more of the honest women and get rid of some of the dishonesty I've dealt with in the past. Yeah, I know that applies to men as well, but I don't date them, so. Arrakis, which has nothing to do with Dune, spelled completely different, ARA''KUS. That is an operatic heavy metal band. The people I work with in Arrakis are some of my closer friends. Jeremiah, who is the founder of the band, we do a lot together. He's probably the best friend I've had in the last 5-6 years, and just a really cool guy. And this guy writes this just amazing music that we get up on these stages and perform, and it's quite an experience. And I think if I were going to probably describe my realm is probably on stage doing that kind of thing. That's kind of me right there. And we do this very, very large theatrical production. We've got about like 50 people or so in our cast and crew. Our band is up to like, I don't even know how he's actually in the band anymore. It's like 9 or 10 people, and then we've got actors and dancers, and we've got a gal who spins fire in the show, and we got Seattle Knights come out and do these massive sword fights on stage, and it's just this really, really cool production. It's just kind of over the top. I would say that career aspiration plays some role only in that I would want a person to be happy with what they're doing. If a person is sweeping garbage for a living, but they absolutely love it, that's great. Keep doing it. That's someone I would want to be involved with. But if a person is making $250,000 a year and hates her job and always complains about everyone she works with, that would be very unattractive to me, because you're doing something that you don't like. It's not worth the money to be unhappy. So it's all about, do you like what you do? If you're totally broke and you love what you're doing, great. If you hate what you're doing, no matter what, I personally think you should change it. So I would not be likely to be involved with someone who was unhappy with their career choice or their career direction, whatever it might be. be dishonest to say that I haven't had thoughts about, what would have been, if things had worked out between my daughter's mother and I. But then I do, with the things I've got, I mean, I wake up and I'm at work. I don't have to drive to go to work. I work out of my house. My students come to me. I've got a wall of guitars in my house. I've got a recording studio in my house. I've got some really cool stuff going on that my life has built up to because I've been single that probably would not have happened if I had been married. So I met this girl a few years back, and she ended up being in a band with me. And then we started dating. And I feel that I've made a lot of really good decisions in my life about a lot of things, but this is definitely not a shining example of one of those really good decisions that I've made to date, either someone in my band or this particular girl. So things, seemed really good at first. She, very pretty girl, extremely intelligent woman, and what I didn't see at the time, because of her intelligence, was that she's also very, very manipulative. So we had been doing really well. We were in an opera together, and we're doing some shows with the band, and things were a lot of fun. So I make this homemade pizza. Instead of water, I put beer in it, and it just brings the flavor of the pizza out. And I like, hand spin it and stuff, because I'm just one of these guys who can't stop doing crap with my hands. Throw a little sauce on there, some cheese, usually just, something simple, some pepperoni, maybe some ground beef or some sausage. Top it off with some more cheese, because really, you can't have too much cheese on pizza, to my knowledge. And so, yeah, I'm a huge pizza fan, and I've been making homemade pizzas for years. So we would, often have these kind of romantic dates with, the homemade pizzas. So yeah, the first time we did this, everything was great. We were still happy with our dating situation. And the second time, also great. Our little month anniversaries and stuff, I would, make a pizza, or she would come up to my place and make the homemade dinner like that. And so we were kind of preparing for another one of these as events unfolded. Probably on the third time, there were probably some red flags in month 3 that I should have seen, but you don't always look for that stuff when you're blissfully dating. I had told her that I loved her, and she smiled at me and she said that she loved me back, and it was really a very good moment. And I thought things were going great. It turned out that she actually started dating this other guy that day. Like within hours of me saying that I loved her for the first time, she was on a date with this other guy. I had no clue at all. I had gone home very happy then. So forward about a month after that, and I'm preparing to make this pizza to take down to her place. And so the night before our 4-month anniversary, before our big night, she called me up and said that, she just couldn't do this. And she didn't mention that there was someone else. And I'm just like, well, if you don't want to be here, you don't want to be here. I understand that. And so I took that well. So our 4-month anniversary passed without incident and without us being a couple. The night after our 4-month anniversary, she called me again and she asked some innocuous question about equipment or the show that was coming up for the band or something. I don't even remember what. And so I answered her question, and she just kind of seemed like she didn't want to get off of the phone. And so I said, what's going on? It sounds like you got something on your mind. And she started talking about, maybe it was a mistake for us to break up. Maybe we should try to do this again. And I still cared for the woman. I liked her a lot. So we talked, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, let's give this a shot. And so we kind of decided to get back together. And then as we're talking, she just kind of got quiet. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And she didn't say anything. And I said, is there someone else? And she said, yes, there is. And so it turned out that she had split up with me, hooked up with this guy that she'd been, finally it was time for them to have sex. So they got together on our 4-month anniversary, but technically she wasn't cheating on me because we had split up, within 18 hours or something. And then she asked me to get back together with her the second night after that. And I said, we're done. Don't call me back in a few days and ask me to get back together with you, because it's not going to happen. This one's permanent. And so yeah, that was a less than fun scenario. And it really, even after that, was kind of worse. We did another show with her in the band, and she brought this guy out to it, and she was really just kind of parading this guy around on social media and stuff, really flaunting her relationship with this guy, and I trying to get my attention with it or whatever, just basically being mean. And unfortunately, there are people in the world who actively enjoy hurting other people. I dated one of them. So I don't really date a lot. And so if I think of a perfect date, initially when I hear a question like that, you think of the perfect first date. But for me, I don't think necessarily the first date would really be the perfect date for me, because there's nerves and getting to know each other. So for me, your great date would be maybe a third or fourth date. We've got to know each other a little bit. We have some mutual interests. We've established a rapport, and we kind of know what's going on. What are we going to enjoy doing together? And then we maybe go out for a nice dinner, some pleasant little restaurant. It's got a good atmosphere to it, a lot of pleasant conversation, and talking about my projects and her projects, songs I'm writing, and plays she's auditioning for, whatever that might happen to be, and have some kind of an exchange where we're really, though we already know each other, we're getting to know each other on a deeper level. We're finding stuff out that's really positive, and maybe learning a bit from each other about, oh, you did that, that is so cool. What's the story behind that? Yeah, that we can get to know each other through, and we can learn about each other and learn maybe something about ourselves through this conversation. Maybe we go out and jump on a local ferry and go for a ferry ride. That's a very Seattle thing to do, and see the new Ferris wheel and the Space Needle from the water, and check out the sights, and just continue with the stimulating conversation and the fun. And to me, it would just really be about the ability to be able to just really romantically enjoy the evening with each other, and just kind of, okay, sure, there's a bunch of other people out on this ferry ride with us, but it's really just the two of us. That would make a night great. The kind of night that is like, God, I just kind of wish this would keep going. Something like that, that'd be a great date for me. I would say that love is a condition in which one person's happiness is dependent upon another person's happiness.
Being in a relationship with someone that was wealthy but that I didn't really connect with would be very, very tempting for me. I could easily see myself falling into that style of living, but no, I don't think it's healthy, and I don't think it's something that I would intentionally jump into.
Money isn't everything. Everything's got to click, and if they've got money, great. Doesn't really matter to me as long as everything clicks.
Of course, every girl thinks about it, though. Everybody thinks about it. Like, wow, that'd be so cool. I just go shopping all day and do whatever I want, blah, 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 blah. Everybody thinks about it. But at the same time, really, is that what you want? Is that really what you want? To have somebody who, you know, maybe this person, if they're insanely rich, they have to be doing something to where that's keeping them away from home. You know, whatever have you. Maybe you've got somebody who has to do the whole like business trip thing like every other week or whatever have you. So they're never around. And the only way that they show you that they love you is because they, you know, oh, here, honey, here's a new whatever. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? That's not love.
You know, money is everything sometimes. So I mean, if I ever did find a girl who was, you know, super rich or something, and only some things clicked between us, I mean, I'd give it a try just to see if, you know, things would work as it is. But think further down the line, you know, your heart plays a role where it just tells you, know, money doesn't buy you happiness, but it could make you happy.
You know, I think it's every girl's dream to be taken care of and to have the wealthy guy sweeping her off her feet. I mean, let's face it, we grew up with thinking that Prince Charming was real, you know? But did you ever think that maybe Prince Charming was seeing Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty all at the same time? The same guy, you know?
Would I be in a relationship with someone who was very, very wealthy and had all the material things, but only a couple of things clicked between us? No, I don't think so. Matter of fact, I know that that's not the kind of relationship I'd be looking for. I've had friends, lady friends like this over the years who are very, very financially well off and live in big, huge homes and all the cars and all the material trappings and the pool and the butler and the maids and all these things. And that's just not where I'm at with me in my life. That's just not my comfort level. You know, we clicked as friends, and we even dated on occasion socially with 2 or 3 of these friends of mine that I'm thinking about over the years. But no, that's I need more than that.
My name is Robin. I'm 56 and I'm single.
I'm not a good dater. I don't like dating several people at a time. It's not my thing. I enjoy one person at a time. So that's usually kind of my goal, is to get to know someone. Doesn't seem like I've ever matched up with anybody well enough that we're on the same page at the same time. That would be a goal of mine, meet somebody who's in the same place I am. That would like that. Sometimes I feel a little isolated, even though you're in a crowd, people are on the move, maybe a little too connected with their cell phones, and not so personalized as it used to be. I've been on dating websites. People want to talk and maybe be a pen pal, but as far as actually going out on a physical date, they're very numbered. When someone just writes to me on the internet and never wants to meet me, that's a red flag. You're on the computer, you're not with the person. So what do? Cuddle up with your computer at night? I don't know. What makes me attractive to the opposite sex, I think, as well as anybody in my life, is my energetic personality. I'm always up for fun and keep the crowd laughing. The worst thing that someone that I really cared about ever said to me was that he loved me, but that wasn't enough. Made me kind of look into myself to see what more I could do, and it's really not about me all the time. You know, it's what 2 people need from each other, and sometimes love isn't enough, I guess. I've changed a lot over the past couple of years. I decided to invest in myself, start working out. I started running. I lost about 25 pounds, and up until this week I had long hair, and I thought that was really cool, but now I'm really liking my new do, so we'll see how that works. What makes someone attractive to me, unfortunately, is I'm kind of hung up on the bad boy. I like a cute guy and physical attraction sparks, and a lot of times that's just like I said, superficial, so it doesn't get very far sometimes. If I could change one thing about the people that I'm attracting, is more sincerity, a willingness to commit maybe a little bit more, be more trusting, open up, and share. When you haven't had a really super good relationship where things were really warm and fuzzy, I don't have that to look back and miss. It sounds really sad, but I truly believe you can be more lonely when you're actually with somebody than when you're by yourself. If it's not the right person, and I have not met the right person yet, I am open and available, but I'm still waiting. If I had been married this whole time to the same man, I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I've had, seriously. I feel like I've gotten to explore things even inwardly about myself. I mean, I know who I am, and I'm comfortable with that. I can't really imagine being with the same person again. I think it has to go back to that was never a good thing for me. I wasn't with the right person ever. So I don't have that to regret because it just hasn't happened yet. But we'll see. Looking forward to it if it happens. And if it doesn't, I'm still happy in life. My first marriage, he was actually so boring that he never stayed awake through one movie. I'd nudge him and he'd get mad at me for waking him during the movie. And sometimes when the movie was over, he'd be sad that he missed it and want me to sit through it again so that he could get it. So that was not fun. When you're younger and you're raising your kids and your mate is really striving to get ahead in their position, that's really hard. I think a lot of men spend more time trying to climb the ladder than spending time with their own home and family, their children. So that wouldn't impress me. It never did. Growing older now, maybe I'd like someone who's maybe more ready to retire. So that would work perfectly in my situation for dating. I've never been in a relationship that was, hand-holding, let's live life together and enjoy it. I have had people that did not want that at the same time that I did. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. And I'd love that. I think I would love to be monogamous. Working to live means you're satisfied in life. You don't keep up with the neighbors. You don't have to have more than what you need. Living to work means you're just chomping at the bit to get that next bite, the next opportunity, clawing your way up a corporate ladder maybe. It's quite different. I'm really thrifty. I'm good at finances. So I don't need the top brand, name brand. It doesn't have to be expensive to be good. It doesn't make me happy. Money, sometimes you have it and sometimes you don't. And you have to be happy either way. As long as you know who you are and where you're going, I think that's more important. The thought of being single at 65 doesn't scare me. I don't think that I prefer it. I mean, isn't that the American dream, that you end up and grow old with somebody? It's what I was raised to believe in. I hope that's not just a fairy tale. I hope that comes true. Okay, I remember dating a guy with an alcoholic tendency. And it finally came down to where he was going to AA, and our relationship was rocky at that point, but I decided that if he was willing to work on it, I'd stand by him. And he was doing pretty well, and he'd, go to the meetings often. And so I had planned this little picnic surprise for him. I picked him up and we drove out to the lake, and I went back to the trunk of my car, and unbeknownst to me, when I opened the trunk to take out the picnic lunch, he had packed it with beer. And there was a case of beer in the back of my trunk. He kept taking the beer out of the trunk, and I kept grabbing it, putting it back in. It was becoming kind of a scene. And so I knew at that point I was just going to make the best of the rest of the day. And I just couldn't even believe it. And he kept saying, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay. We're just having a picnic. It's just a beer." And I said, no, you don't understand. This is not okay. We were standing there on the edge of the shore. I was pointing out Mount Rainier was just right there. It was just the perfect moment. And all he could think about was getting his beer. And that was the most important thing on his mind that day. I tried to make the best of that day. It was a beautiful sunny day in Seattle. All was good. And beer after beer after beer was landing on the picnic blanket until he was surrounded by bears and passed out. So I pretty much just got up and left him. My ideal dream date for maybe Seattle, someone who really is into going to Seafair, and like I said, the Blue Angels are my favorite thing, and enjoying something like that together, being out on the lake. We also have carriage rides downtown Seattle that I've never been on, a horse-drawn carriage, and that just looks so romantic to me. I think that would really be fun to cozy up with someone that you're attracted to and share that experience together. Being in love and loving are obviously two different things. You come together and you're in love and everything's really wonderful, but down that windy road of things come up, it's all about negotiation. Seriously, if you can sit and actually talk with your partner and negotiate through whatever it is, I think that that really could be the answer to longevity in a relationship.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'd like to say that I would be with someone and I'd be, walking hand in hand and, or sitting in the meadow in the tubs doing a Viagra commercial. I'd love to be able to say I could do that, but that may not be the case. So it could go either way.
I want somebody to go on cheesy cruises with, and I want somebody to, like when you go anywhere and you see those old people and one of them's got on the woman's got on the tacky leopard print tracksuit and they totally look like tourists, and that's what I want. That's what I want to have. I want my husband that's getting irritated because we've been in this shop for too long and he wants to go someplace else, and I'm like, no honey, I'm still looking. That's initially what I want.
Steady, content, on the porch with a loved one, gray hairs, rocking chair. She's knitting and I'm whittling, and as cliche as you want to make it.
I kind of see myself settling and going with somebody who maybe wasn't the fantasy of the beauty of love kind of a thing. Maybe I'll just settle for somebody who is enamored by me, because in my past I haven't had anybody who's really wanted to love me. So I kind of see myself at 60 being with that guy who fell hard for me, and I just started liking him because he liked me. So and then I think at that point, by 65, it will probably have been me taking care of him for a long time, and hopefully I will have gotten something in return. So
at 65, I don't see it any other way. That's how I've envisioned it. I will be with my wife. I'm not going to be the person that's alone.
When I'm 65, I fully intend to be married with kids and a cane. Maybe not a cane, because I'm going to go skydiving when I'm 70. So I think by the time I'm 65, I'll be married with kids, probably grandkids. Just doing what I'm doing now, having fun, living life, hopefully sharing that life with somebody else.
By the time I'm 65, I seriously plan on being in a relationship, in a marital relationship, hopefully with a child or two and a wonderful wife and a great family and in good health and all the great things that life is all about. And so that's my idea, that's my plan, and that's what I'm really working towards and trying to be the best I can be every single day at try to help put that together.
I'm Dave Lord, and I'm one of the board members of Seattle Sleepless. So the way Seattle Sleepless came about is there was an article that was written about two perfect people, the perfect looking guy and the perfect looking girl, who came together under the perfect lighting and Dolby sound and developed a fairy tale relationship. And then unfortunately, that's not reality. A lot of people that are divorced or widowed or whatever want to find that companionship, but we don't have the Hollywood lights, we don't have the Hollywood looks to pull that off. And so a group of people got together, decided they would start a group. And this group started with maybe 5 or 6 people, and now it's grown to well over 250. And it's a group where we understand reality a little bit more. Dating's not easy. Meeting people is not easy. And so the group is based on having activities for these people to come together to do. Every kind of activity you could think of, from golf to tennis to card playing to dancing, where we can meet people.
So
hope to see you there. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, one of the things that's been ongoing, the one thing that's been ongoing since the club's inception, is that they have meetings every Saturday morning. We usually get a crowd of probably 40 to 60 people every Saturday morning. The purpose is to talk about all the events that are coming up within the course of the next couple months. So the person who's in charge of cruises will stand up and talk about all the cruises that she's organized. And there's a gentleman in the group who hikes, and he organizes all these hiking trips. We're going to one of the San Juan Islands overnight this year, and so there's a guy that organizes that. He stands up and talks about that. You get to hear all these people stand up and talk about all these activities, and you just make a list, keep a calendar of all these fun things that you want to try, and it gets you a little out of your comfort zone sometimes, but it's fun to do that. We need to do that.
Who's finished with all the shopping for them?
Anne loves Seattle, so if you know of anybody who might have this.
One of the times I was taken out of my comfort zone was to go play this game called Whirly Ball. And Whirly Ball is where you go and you get on a bumper car. At the end of the court is a hole in the wall, and you have to fling a ball into that hole. You have little rackets, and you put the ball in the hole, and then your team gets a point. Well, it sounds easy until you've got old people in bumper cars. Well, I shouldn't say old. We're, just mature. But the bumper cars things just adds a whole new realm to the event. And then afterwards we go to dinner together, and everybody's talking about how the other team cheated, and they bumped me at the wrong time or whatever. But that's one of our great activities that we always look forward to is the Whirly Ball. One of our members loves to play bunco, and it's a pretty easy card game, but they decided that yearly they were going to have a bunco night. So now I think they get 40 or 50 members once a year to come and play bunco, and that's a great time. The thing that's fun about it is, like, you don't have to have any skill. I like those kind of games where it takes no skill. You just roll the dice. It's almost like a Yahtzee kind of a game. You roll the dice, you have a team, and you're constantly changing tables and partners throughout the evening. You get to meet a wide array of people. You get to see how they interact with others, and you might even win a prize at the end.
We won.
We tend to gravitate towards those activities that we like the best, and I've always loved dancing. And so we have a group that puts together great dances every year. We have a couple of holiday themed dances. One of them is a Christmas dance, and it's our time to try to look our best. And there are some men that just love to dance, and they always try to make sure that every woman in the club gets their dances in. And so a lot of times we'll even have lesson beforehand, and some of the people need several lessons, but we cater to from the very beginning, just learning how on up. Well, none of us are as good as Dancing with the Stars, but some of us aren't too bad. And it's safe. You can go and dance with people and know that it's safe. I know a lot of times the hardest thing for a single person to do when they're going through lonely times of the holidays, or just even trying to get out and meet people. It's so much easier just to stay home, but it's so much more fun to get out and meet people. And that's one of the great things about this club, is there's so many people there that have been where you are, and they know it's hard to get out and do things. And if you just make yourself do it the first time or two, then you'll have friends that are going to make you come out. They'll say, let's go do this or let's go do that. And you realize that there's a whole bunch more fun after being 50 that we just didn't think was possible. And through a lot of these events, you find yourself, and you find those things that oh, gee, this is so fun. I wish I'd have done this years ago. That's how I feel now about kayaking. Now you can kayak past where they really filmed Sleepless in Seattle. The great thing about Sleepless is it's not like meeting somebody on the internet. It's you're getting to see somebody in all their seasons. You get to see them when they're excited at a holiday event. You get to see them when they're sad because something they planned didn't work out, or you get to see all their seasons, where a lot of times if you're dating somebody online, you don't get to see their interaction with other people. And I think that's important. Yeah, so what do I think love is? Let's see. I would like to be loved unconditionally. I mean, I don't look the same as I did when I was in my 20s. And I would like to know that somebody's going to love me, even if I'm losing hair, even if I, laugh or tell jokes that I shouldn't have, or whatever. I want to know that somebody, is going to love me despite all that. And that I can take the things that she wants to do in her life and the things that I want to do with the rest of my life and put them together and enjoy those things together.
To love someone, to me, is to see them and to see the best possible version of them in everyday life. Sometimes they may not see that, and sometimes that person might not hold that goodness for themselves or that vision of their own good. And it's, in a sense, my job in a relationship to remember that when they forget.
It's just a really powerful emotion that can control, it seems like it can control the entire universe.
I mean, love is unconditional, period. And I don't know how you get it or where it comes from, but when you find it, it encompasses everything.
I think it's more about trust. It's more about partnership. It's more about, you don't have to be perfect, but you can be perfect to each other.
It's gonna be, the whole, like, the Bonnie to the Clyde, the yin to the yang, in my little itty bitty universe where I believe that I'm the queen, he's gonna be my king. And it's just, that person that gets you.
With love, there's so many different aspects to it. But when you're really in love with somebody, I think that it really means that you will give more of yourself than you ever thought you could and not realize you're doing it.
So love to me is the security of being able to know that if anything goes wrong, that person's going to be there for you and in your corner. The one that stands up for you no matter what, and the one who's willing to stand by your side when things are tough. You may get in arguments, but you've always resolved them by the end of the night. It's just the person that you just don't have to worry about. You don't have to think about it. It's just there, no matter what.
inside my arms. When nothing is good, in colors they have gone to black. Did what you could. Troubles they keep coming back. Hide your head, hide your head, hide your head inside my arms. Dreams like a cage. Birds have all flown, and night finally comes and leaves you alone. Hide your head, hide your head, hide your head inside my arms. When lightning and waves do crash, you're mine like the sea at night. Hold on to hope so dear, and I'll be here. Hide your head, hide your head, hide your head inside my arms. Hide your head, hide your head, hide your head inside.